What do you
I'm
do?
just
He
copying.
was in the Navy.
Who was his rating? Machinist mate, both
I
mate,
think he was.
We're trying, sorry.
or what?
Monkey.
Monkey mate.
Yeah. Machinist mate.
Oh, well, hold it, you said the word 8, now that is a term in the Navy, decade, Oh,
He went a
mate.
decade.
okay. I was, that sucked.
But if that
Yeah.
happens again, what should
It's like when you could say those things, you can't say those things anymore. You got all the ratty details,
I'm not, but I'm just gonna go
the
to.
painting, the scraping, the chipping, the deck grinders.
I have to
whatever.
look.
Yeah.
No, I know,
He
but
has fair
I was
share
trying
of that.
to
Yeah,
find this.
well, you do, if you go to the fleet,
Cause it'll pop up.
you're a non-designated fireman or
Just
seaman,
if anything.
you ever been to Ace?
Just like stand up and look at me.
Even then, you gotta do service of some sort.
I mean, I don't
Mess
think I'll be able to do anything, but
deck
I'm
division.
gonna record it.
They're also called warm bodies, i.e. if they needed someone, it was just, hey, you. Army would say, hey, you detail, but in the Navy, it was your warm body, that
I don't know how.
30-man working party. Yeah, there's your 30 warm bodies right there.
I just.
Because all that stuff has to be manhandled on the ship, from ship to ship, in the ship.
Sorry, guys, technical difficulties.
Every time you go to port, all the ammunition has to come back into the magazines, round by round.
All right, we have asked Mallory to get our meeting started for us today, since we are currently without a chairman.
All right, I'm gonna call this meeting to order at 1:39. Okay. Call to order, public hearing. We'll conduct a Board of Adjustment and Appeals, a public hearing on the following items, and please limit comments to 3 minutes or less, unless you really need more time than that. 2.1 variance request 23-001503. Applicant is requesting to reduce the freeboard requirement on a commercial building. Request by Sean Jackson, property location 606 Cutoff Road. Mr. Jackson, come on up.
Or.
Or they could speak during the agenda item topic if they
Oh, I'm
want,
sorry.
since it's
And/or-
their application.
Yeah.
This is just a hearing.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
You're welcome to, you just, they can't have any back and forth, so normally I'd suggest you just wait till the agenda
Yeah,
item.
that's right.
Makes more sense.
This is my first time.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's new.
Oh,
Gonna cut
It
her
won't be your last one.
Okay, no one for that. All right, 2.2 variance request 23-001506. Applicant requesting to reduce the freeboard requirement on a commercial building. Request by South Texas Building Partners, Mustang Island Development, Inc., property location 160 Lakeshore. The next one is item 2.3, variance request 23-001504. Applicant is requesting to reduce the flood opening requirement on a residential garage. Request by UWC Custom Builders. Property location 560 South Shore. All right, do we have any public comments? No. All right, moving on to item 4, items for consideration. Discuss, take action, or pass on any of the following. All right, well, we will pass introduction of new members because our new member was not able to be here today. 4.2, discuss and take action to appoint a chairman and a co-chairman.
So with Glenn's resignation and Flip's unfortunate passing, it left us without a chair or a vice chair. So one of your first courses of business is to elect those leadership or determine who's going to take those 2 roles. With that, I'll leave it to your
I have a
own advice.
motion.
Okay,
I'd like to nominate Mallory Kalaya for chairman or chairwoman or chair or whatever the current term is.
Whatever.
Or what? So,
All in
you're
favor?
quick.
All opposed?
We assume you're willing. Thanks, Mallory.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay. All right, we're gonna go to 4.3.
Oh, we need a.
Yeah, probably a vice chair would be appropriate.
Oh, so sorry.
Okay.
Or
She should be
co-chair.
female. She should be female.
I'm going to nominate Noyce Livingston for the
Seems fair.
vice chair. Okay, we got 2 seconds.
There you
Take
go.
your pick.
I thought it's the big bullet. That's.
Yeah.
all.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Yeah,
Okay,
and I will point out just for the record that you two do have the distinction of being the more senior member. So I wanted that on the record. So I think it's appropriate. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
You get a paid.
yeah, I want to pay increase. Okay, 4.4 variance request 23-001503. App-
4.3, I'm sorry. 4.3,
Pardon?
3 is the minutes.
right above that.
Oh, so sorry, y'all. If I had my glasses. I'd probably figure it out. Okay.
Those will work for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, did y'all have time to read the minutes?
Yes.
Do we have any,
So I am gonna make the correction to change it from city council members present to board of adjustment members present. I don't have the ability to change that in the software system, so.
all righty,
And then, of course, we'll change Tina's from being an alternate to just being a regular place
Great.
member.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, do I have a motion to accept the members, the minutes with the corrections that Nicole's gonna make?
I move to accept the minutes.
Anybody want to second that?
Second.
All right, Tina, you all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that an aye noise?
In favor?
Oh, yes, aye.
Okay,
Sorry.
and hope that wasn't me. Okay, now. 4.4 variance request 23-001503. Applicant is requesting to reduce the freeboard requirement on a commercial building. Request by Sean Jackson. Property location 606 Cutoff Road. Now, Sean, would you like to come up and present to us finally?
Yeah, and while he's making his way up here, I'll just mention, just for time's sake, that the next 3 are going to be very similar in nature. It's one of our issues that we continue to chip away at, but like I said, this is the other ones. Fortunately, all are still within the FEMA guidelines as far as base flood elevations, but just haven't quite met our design flood elevation for various reasons. So like I said, I just want to mention that because all 3 are going to have virtually the similar circumstances. So.
All right.
Hi, my name is Sean Jackson. I'm a general contractor here in Port Aransas. I built a golf cart rental building over at 606 Cutoff Road. One way or another, we ended up 8 inches short of Port A's flood zone. We are over FEMA's. I went by there. All of our electrical is over both flood zones. We do have a mini split on that building that the outdoor unit is going to be below, but they're going to come and move that up above flood tomorrow. All of our outlets are above. The only thing that isn't is the flood or the floor. And so we're 8 inches below. And I'm going to ask for a variance to see if we can get that approved.
What's the square footage on the building?
140. It's 10 foot by 14 foot.
Anybody questions, comments?
No, I'm going to pose this question to all the variance requesters. Moving forward, because I think it's fair that the answer be heard by the board. So what's going to keep this from happening again?
So
Tell
I'm
me-
going to insist, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, that my clients will pay for a piling survey the minute the pilings are set. We'll get Brundred out there before any other construction's done. We're going to get where they lay, period. It adds extra steps, it adds extra money, but it's way better than doing this.
Well, and I think we can say that we're going to also make that a policy decision because as you remember, the problems we've been having were with foundation slabs. And so we did implement a requirement that there be a formboard elevation done.
Which has caught a lot of situations.
But we don't have it.
But we
for
hadn't
pilings.
Yes.
Yes.
had that issue with the pilings. Because
Right.
it's not as frequent. But again, here's an example where it can happen. So one more lesson learned, and we're going to learn from it. And fortunately, the variance was minor, so it doesn't affect us FEMA wise. That would become more problematic. So
And it's a commercial building, and it's a very small structure.
Mhm.
And typically you have pilings and people are parking under them, so they're so far above what's required that it's not an issue.
Right,
So I don't think it's gonna be the policy that we require on every single one, but on these that are pilings lower to the ground. We've had that discussion with our building official, and we're just gonna make note and require it of those structures.
Yeah, clearly, there, yeah, you're right. If there's parking underneath.
They're gonna be way
You're
above
you're
that.
gonna be fine. It's only those ones that are just trying to meet, base flood elevation rather than a slab use pilings. Those are gonna be the ones that are at greater risk.
And this is
Good point.
probably one of maybe 10 buildings my entire career here that has been pilings and low to the ground. So it's very rare.
Yeah, that's true.
And we just had a bunch of elevations on that existing property from the car wash where the lowest elevation adjacent machinery. We were trying to find out what those elevations are. We thought we shot it correct and we were 8 inches short.
I move to approve the variance.
We have a second.
Second.
Tina, you'll second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you
Done.
very much.
you're welcome. All right, item 4.5, or variance request 23-001506. Applicant is requesting to reduce the freeboard requirement on a commercial building. Request by South Texas Building Partners, Mustang Island Development, Inc., property location 160 Lakeshore.
Good afternoon. I'm Daniel Mazak, General Manager of Development for Cinnamon Shore. So this particular facility, it's a pool project, and with that pool, we're developing some pergolas and a restroom structure that contains like 2 ADA restrooms. And so when we had designed this facility initially, I had met with Don beforehand, and he had clarified that restrooms did not need to be base flood +1. So because our elevations on property are all relatively flat and it's a pool amenity, I wanted it to be really walkable, easy for families to get from the restroom to the pool, vice versa. And so I pushed all the elevations down when designing it and planned to build the restrooms just at base flood elevation, not base flood +1. But when Nicole had the opportunity to review it, they requested that it be at base flood +1. The challenge is we separately applied for the pool construction permit from the general construction permit, and we've already put the pool in the ground. So because the pool is in the ground, I'm now kind of locked into an elevation that I have to try to make all the elevations work. And for ADA, I'd like to go ahead and build it above base flood, but not base flood +1. In the future, on other projects, I'll plan to develop all the restrooms to be base flood +1 and then adjust grades accordingly for our future pools and projects.
Yeah, and Daniel is correct. We have since internally in our staffing just made sure that any flood related items that Nicole has, as our certified floodplain manager has eyes on. So that's, although Don has ultimate authority as the building official, obviously he understands that, it's best to let the floodplain management expert deal with that. And Daniel's also correct, as we feel that it is probably a safer measure, since we're still at FEMA base flood, to not have that discrepancy in steps, for safety reasons. So we don't have any objection to that.
Anybody have questions, comments? Can I get a motion?
I move to grant the variance.
Are you second?
Sure, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 4.6, variance request 23-001504. Applicant is requesting to reduce the flood opening requirement on a residential garage. Request by UWC Custom Builders, property location 560 South Shore.
Good afternoon, Chad Shemitis, 830 Oceanside. I'm also partner UWC Custom Builders. Rick, did you have any lead in on this one, or I can?
No, just
You're a pro, you can do it.
But anyway, I like your efficiency. If I'm used to being on that side, if I can have the meetings moving like this, this would be good. This was, we're at 9.5 feet on a garage. The finished floor elevation of the house is at 11 feet. The FEMA rules say, you have one flood vent per 200 square feet. This garage is like 140 square feet. I put in the one flood vent, but the rules also say you need an additional flood vent on an opposing wall. I cannot put an additional flood vent on an opposing wall because what I have is a garage that's 18 to 21 inches below the house. And then here and here is the main house. So I've got a concrete beam that's this high.
Mhm.
This other wall right here is a garage door. You can't put a flood vent in a garage door because then you jeopardize the integrity from windstorm compliance of the garage door. So I would like to either be allowed to add another flood vent on the same wall, which would be about triple what we need, or be granted this variance because we do have the one vent in place. I just don't have the ability to add a second vent. And if I did, I'd add it.
So Rick, we had, all right. Is one flood vent per 200 square feet, is that
So-
correct?
So
1 inch.
What it is
Yeah.
anytime
Explain.
you're below for FEMA, anytime you're below base flood elevation, for the
Mhm.
city of Port Aransas, anytime you're below design flood elevation,
Okay.
which is base flood plus one,
Right.
you have to have flood openings, and it's 1 square inch of flood opening for every square inch of space,
Square foot.
enclosure
Okay,
space. I'm
gotcha.
sorry, for every foot of enclosure space that you have. Or you can use engineered flood vents, and each one of those vents will be certified for a certain, and most of the time they use the engineered flood vents, and so it's one engineered flood vent is good for every 200 square feet that they have. The rule is you have to have a minimum of 2. So even if your enclosure is only 10 foot, you have to have 2 separate
Wow.
openings. Not necessarily the engineered, but
Right.
it's for hydrostatic pressure. You want water to
Oh, that's
come in
right.
and out of a
That's right.
building, and you want to have it,
rule?
that's FEMA's rule.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you want to keep that hydrostatic pressure,
Mhm.
equalized.
Mhm.
And so that's why you have it on 2, you have 2 of them, and you have them on separate walls so that it's not. If the
Right.
water's coming in this way, you want the water to be able to come in and go out.
So if he can't do it on 2, but he could do it on 1, would that make a difference to have? 2?
I'm not an engineer, so if it was my house, I would speak to an engineer and say, what's the best,
Open the garage door.
Yeah. Leave the.
I mean,
garage door
honestly,
private. Yeah, I guess.
that's
I mean,
a lot of people do in floods because that helps with that pressure.
well, I was just thinking my house only has 1 wall too, a lot of people only have 1 wall to their garage, and plus the doors.
So FEMA does allow flood vents in garage doors and stuff too, but because we're on the coast,
We have
not
to-
only do you have the flood requirements, but you also have windstorm
Right,
requirements. And
right.
we cannot find, I've spoken to a lot of engineers, we can't find an engineer that will certify a garage door once you put the flood vent in it, because it jeopardizes the.
Well, and you got to remember the garage doors, the reason that our garage doors are so much more expensive and you see those bracing is because one of the weakest links in a house is that garage door because it's such a large opening. If it fails, and you have all that wind pressure in a hurricane, let's talk hurricanes, you have all that wind pressure going in and literally just, wreaking havoc on the house. That's why all those windows and doors are all TDI engineered because you don't want to, once that envelope is compromised and the garage door is a big part of it. So that's the catch-22 for
So what
flood.
did he do to be compliant with FEMA?
So
We
right
are.
now, he is compliant with
Because
FEMA
we're
because
above base flood.
FEMA
Oh,
doesn't
okay.
require that 1 foot.
Okay,
He's not, and we would never bring a variance to you. Well, we would very heavily tell you this is not in compliance with FEMA. And the property owner probably wouldn't want that because they can't get flood insurance.
Right.
So we only bring variances to you that are in compliance with FEMA, not.
Thus
in
far we have.
compliance.
so right
with
now,
the city of Port
basically, his only problem is that foot that
Correct,
we had.
right, and I don't even think it's a full foot. I think it's about 6 inches.
It's 6 inches. We deal with this all the time where I can't go to base flood plus 1 in the garage because then your driveway is super steep.
Mhm.
So we get in that middle ground there and then we put flood vents in. This was the first time I've ever encountered. Oh, wait, I don't have an opposing wall to put a flood vent in. So we put the 1 in and then pretty much Nicole said, what are you gonna do? I said, I don't know. So we hit this point where we're in FEMA compliance, we're not in the city's compliance. And if you walk away and say, I need to go put a flood vent on the same wall, I'll do it, but
I'm
that's
not
the only-
sure that will
it's
help.
Yeah.
not necessarily gonna change it.
I think that, I mean,
Mhm.
if you imagine the water coming in through that flood vent and you've got a 2 foot. Concrete wall on the other side, I feel like that protects that house pretty well.
Yeah,
Like I said, I'm not an engineer,
Right.
but I feel like that protects the house fairly
But
well.
our experience tells us that you're somewhat flood proofed by that retaining wall. you know, which is a technique they allow on commercial buildings. You can actually build a wall around instead of, you know, you can, that's how you can flood-proof commercially. It's not done very often. So like I said, we don't have a lot of heartburn again because we're FEMA compliant.
I moved.
But it would go into the house.
Okay,
But that's
Oh,
not, that's you
yes.
can put it, that's another.
There. Yeah.
we've got a
Well,
motion.
there's not, yeah, there's
on
not
the
enough
table
space.
to approve.
That's solid framing. You're talking on the sides of the garage. door.
Yeah, but in the front where the garage is, there's not enough room there to
Right.
get a flood vent in next to that garage door because it's such a small garage.
I think Tina's made it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tina's
Tina's
made
made
a
a
motion to
motion.
They
approve.
were still talking.
Paul, you want to second that motion?
I will second. that.
Okay, great. All in favor? Aye.
I.
All right, all opposed? None. Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's some things. just-
Okay, well, do we have any other business that needs to come before us, you guys? Nope.
No.
All right. Then I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you all.
1:59.
All right, thank you.
Well, to congratulate the sheriff.
Congratulations.
Congratulations on the new leadership.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Boy, that was a good, quick meeting.
They all have been quick lately. Well, not the last one.
Well, you know, it's like some of these, it's like, well, what can they do? I mean, I do understand some. Like.
Right, but I,
They
making
take
it
it out
another,
now.
making it